Hey everyone, it's Logan from Critical EDH. Today I'm joined by Blake from Casting Costs CEDH, excuse me. And I think we're gonna do a little bit of coaching, and looks like we're gonna be chatting about Zur. Anything you want to introduce yourself or the deck you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. Yep. So, like you said, I'm Blake. Me and Chase run a channel called CastingCostcEDH. We really just post stuff about, like, just whatever we want to talk about, honestly. We do gameplays once a week, we do tournament breakdowns, and a lot of the times it's just us ranting and rambling. But yeah, today I kind of wanted to pick your brain about, because I would talk to Eric, and he said that you were a pretty good control player, and so I try to run this list as almost like an Esper control shell. So I really wanted to pick your brain about Zur and Esper and just things like in that area, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, I really like control as an archetype, especially in CDH, and I've been finding like pretty good success with it. I played Control Glarb and won my first major tournament on it. That was 128 players, and then I've been playing Wrong Side, which is, while it's a card draw list, it's ultimately a control list. There's a lot of free counter spells and just counter spells in general, and a lot of interaction points. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm kind of interested to see what you're bringing to the table with this. But I do want to say, thanks for having us on the channel multiple times at this point, and it's been fun working with you guys for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, I've really enjoyed watching the content and stuff that you guys have put out, and like just the effort that you guys have put into like not only growing your own channel, but also like helping the rest of the community grow. Like anytime it seems like anytime a creator or like a channel reaches out to you guys, you're really open to collabing and to doing stuff. So like I just appreciate you guys being willing to like help the community itself grow too.
Yeah, it's really important to us. I think CDH is already kind of in a pretty thin space, right? Like once you start learning who people are, you're like, oh, I remember them. I've seen you at this tournament. I'll see you at this next tournament, that kind of thing. And while there's a lot of us, there's not that much. There's not that many of us. So I think it's also kind of important to represent CDH the right way, and while we're all very competitive in our different ways, but we like to have fun too.
Absolutely, brother. Heck yeah.
So tell me about what you've got going on here with Zur.
Yeah. So basically, so this version of the deck that I'm playing, I find that there's a couple different directions that most Zer pilots will take the deck just because I'm pretty active in the Zer Discord. But you typically will see like reanimator lines where people are playing like really heavy like reanimate packages, trying to do like the Thassa's Oracle plan. You see like one direction where people will do like infinite mana with like Grim and Assault, and they'll go like Power Artifact, and typically like their outlets are going to be like Dimensional Infiltrator or like Walking Ballista. I am on more of just a typical like Esper good cards pile list that doesn't necessarily. I always try to say like I built this deck very commander agnostic. Like I don't want Zur to be the focal point of the deck. I just want him to be an option if I choose to like pivot. If I see like a window to pivot, if that makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
I tend to just play like as many good cards as I can in Esper, like the good control pieces like your Dranis, Oppos. I run like all the good silence effects, the Thassa's Oracle, stuff like that. And then the other combo, I guess, with Zur is like the Ad Nauseum and then Phyrexian Unlife,
Sure.
which basically just allows me to like pick my whole deck up, try to win with that. So that's he's really only there if I see either like no other like I guess better strategy as far as like let's say like there's nothing better to do in my hand, so I just cast him, and I know like next turn I'm either going to have potentially like a Necropotence or a Rhystic Study, or maybe even like a clone for a Rhystic Study. Other than that, I just try to play it as like Esper good cards. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to relate this to a deck that I'm playing currently. It's Satya, Aetherflux Genius, and it has basically the same casting cost as Zur. It's one and Jeskai, and I think the
Mm-hmm.
commander largely serves like the same purpose. Basically, I don't really care whether Satya comes down at all during the game. I just want to win the game, right? And I'll use the
Mm-hmm.
shell to its best. To the best of my ability, I'll use the shell to make that happen, right? And then if I can see an angle in which the commander makes that happen, then yeah, I'll play the commander. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I can see Zur being largely the same thing. I would say that Zur has a bit of a reputation, whereas Sachet
Hmm.
really doesn't. So that might lend to like some sideways looks at the table if you're casting Zur and they're wondering what you're gonna get. Um, Also, just like kind of
Hmm.
knowing that you're gonna get Ristic Study or Necro or something like that is people don't like that very much. So you might run into some trouble there.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that issue a lot of the times. For the longest time, I used to say that Zur was kind of like the fifth player at the table, which it sounds funny to say, but like I would almost use him a lot of the time to like take a lot of the heat that I would normally get, and then I would just let the deck itself do the Esper thing.
Mm-hmm.
People would worry about when the Zur was coming down, and it would just never come down. I would just find a silence effect, jam the win, and they'd go, oh. And then they were just kind of worried about the wrong thing the whole time. And so for a long time, I treated him as almost like another player. Like, hey, I'm just going to let you take the heat, buddy. I'll sit over here.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So looking at it from a controls perspective, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. I think the first one is, what are you looking to control, or like what threats do you see in your meta mostly? Do you see like heavy creature decks, and you're looking to sort of control that angle, or do you see like big stack wars, or kind of a mixture?
I feel so like locally here, I feel like we're finally starting to see the shift out of it. But believe it or not, we actually see a lot of stacks in our local meta, which is very unfortunate.
Mm,
It is not fun. But we see a lot of like Elevere, Blood Pod, Urza, like Tayum is really big, Mono Green Selvala. So like we see a lot of stacksier decks. I'm starting to see people pivot out of that and onto like we've had a lot of Kinnan start to pop up. So
okay,
I'm noticing now that people are almost pivoting out of um, casting a lot of spells and onto more uh, like commanders that are just like activating abilities, like almost skipping the stack if that makes sense, like trying to avoid the stack as much as possible.
sure. So Kinnan is kind of one of those decks that's nothing without their creatures. Um, they can do things with Ristic Study and stuff like that if you're playing the no bad cards Kinnan, but um, I would say most Kinnan decks, if you're trying to just do flips and stuff like that, like if you run a little bit more board control, you'll probably find more success there, and that's really not a secret, right? But same with these stacks decks, they don't really like their boards being wiped or interacted with, so I might start to push you in that direction. Um, I guess the other thing I was going to ask you, if you're looking to make this sort of a control list, have you looked at what Tivit does and in Esper, and kind of compared what?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
I
Go
just
ahead.
compared the two.
Yes. So I actually had this idea the other day. So I was, and it kind of ties into the video that we even put out today. But I was looking at other lists, and trying to, like you said, like see what they're doing specifically and seeing if I could apply that to Zer. So like I kind of had two different ideas. One person I was looking at. So I talked to a guy that actually like made this version of Zer like popular, Fizzle. He also goes by like Evil Xander on Top Deck, but
Sure, yeah.
he was playing the two Ristics version of Zer for a bit, and he kind of pivoted off of it, and now he's playing like more popular decks. But I talked to him quite a bit, and I pick his brain a lot of the time about the deck, and so naturally I tend to look at like decks that he's playing and like try to get inspiration if I've ever doing stuff like that. But I was looking at his blue form list, and I was thinking to myself like, hey, blue form's the best, it's the best deck in the format. Are there ways that I could technically take what they're doing and potentially apply it to like the Esper Shell? And then the other direction was looking at Tivit lists and saying, hey, a lot of these Tivit lists are playing more control pieces. Could I take Zer more into this like control shell? So with like the blue farm list, I was looking at all the red cards that I'm not able to run and saying like, okay, what are these red cards doing? Like the rituals and like like Facebreaker, Ragavan, things like that,
Hmm.
and like seeing how like they net you mana and they net you like a little bit of card advantage, things like that. Could I find cards that maybe fit into the Esper shell that I could then slot into those spots to maybe not be as fast as blue farm, but almost like a win second type of strategy. Like
Sure.
let them just be like a step ahead, and I know that I'm not going to be able to outspeed them, but if I'm running enough like counter magic and I'm running enough pieces to potentially like set back and sandbag interaction and like let them eat the interaction and then win second. And then as far as like Tivit goes, I noticed that their plan is like you said, like more control, like running things like the Grafdigger's Cage, Curse Totem, trying to like be more proactive, I guess, with shutting things down rather than like reactive. They're not letting stuff hit the stack as much as like they are just like, hey, here's a proactive like asymmetrical stacks piece. I'm just going to shut everything off. We're not even going to worry about it. And then you just kind of like you almost like drag people into the later game because they're not able to advance their board as much like in that early game.
Right. So I would caution you that while your deck shares 3 colors with Blue Farm's 4 colors,
Mm-hmm.
some context is lost there, because if you mention
Mm-hmm.
a piece like Professional Facebreaker, you look at that card and you go, okay, it's mono red, right? So unfortunately, you can't play that card. But there's so many different contexts in which that card is valuable in farm. It is a good combination with Timna. So you could have Facebreaker first, then Timna later, or you could have Timna and then Facebreaker, or you can have Crom and Facebreaker, and that makes treasures. But also you have access to Smothering Tithe, and Facebreaker is an excellent outlet for treasures, right? So you can exile treasures to get more cards. The synergies are just very high. It's also a human, so you can Cavern of Souls it, which probably doesn't really come up that much. But it's really hard to stand up to a deck like Blue Farm, especially with a deck that just shares colors with it. And like Rogsai even struggles to do the same thing, because you're not 4 colors. Like, you're not the best deck in the format. And I think coming to terms with that, while the comparisons are worthwhile sometimes, I would encourage you to focus more on what your deck is trying to do. And you can take elements from it, but also just keep in mind, like, Blue Farm runs a very specific mix of cards that are contextually synergistic with each other, where if you remove those cards, like, if you just look at Facebreaker, you're like, oh, that card's fine, and like, it's fine in Grixis, right? But it's not as good unless you add white and you have Tithe. So there are some like incidental synergies there that really make the difference as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
I think that relating this build, if you're looking to play control, towards Tivit is probably a bit more worthwhile. The Tivits that I've seen do really well rely on stack interaction more than these like Grafdigger's Cage and Curse Totem things. Although if that lines up well with your meta, then I don't see a reason to not run it here, because Zur is fully capable of just ignoring those things. So just looking at this creature package, has Drannith been performing well for you? Like, do you think it does something worthwhile?
So it actually is. It actually is funny. I had contemplated cutting Drannith at one point, and it's always hilarious to me how, like, before I go to tournaments, I'll look at my list and I'll start to make edits, and I'll think to myself, like, man, I really like this card's kind of been underperforming. I don't know, like, I'm thinking about cutting it, but then I won't make the edit because I know that, like, I'm so close to a tournament, I shouldn't make like big changes to my list. And then it feels like every time I go to a tournament, the card that I was like bashing or saying, hey, I need to cut this from my list, will come up so often. So like Drannith actually has been a lot more relevant here recently at like getting him out early and then like shutting off obviously like seed order dependent, but being able to like shut off other commanders. Like it feels really good whenever you're able to like when you have it against like things like Ral, or if you can get it out early against like Kennons and Thrasios type decks and things like that. There was a point where I was thinking about cutting it, but I actually have really liked the include of it.
Okay. I would ask you this question. Have you tutored for it, or would you tutor for it?
Would I ever tutor for Drannith?
Or is it just one of those things where like, oh, it came up in my like mulligans, that's fine.
Typically it's a come up in my mulligans type situation.
Okay.
I think the only times. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Keep going.
I think the only times that I've actually like tutored it up is if, obviously, like if you see something like if somebody's tutoring and they're revealing like Underworld Breach or things like that, or even like in occasional like weird niche scenarios where I'm playing against like flubs or like I said, like weird decks like that. But normally I'm never like tutoring it out. No.
Okay. So in tournament play, I try to look at cards like this and say, would I tutor for it? Is it versatile into the mid and late game? It's hard to say sometimes. I think Drannith is a really volatile one to evaluate. My playstyle is, especially even in control lists, I'm not really looking to play Drannith. I'm very stacks adverse, and I think that most of what you need to do to play control, you can do without playing stacks pieces. Or if you do play stacks pieces, it's just kind of incidental stacks pieces. And like, if your style doesn't line up with that, that's totally fine. But looking at your creatures here, I think I've identified a few that would pair really well with Delny. So we've got Sentinel, Archivist, Fairy, Mastermind, Lotho, potentially Mockingbird, Bowmaster, and to a lesser extent, Thassa's Oracle. But all of those work with Delny, right? So, and even Zur, you've got Zur that works in command zone with Delny. I think that that's a card you would actually tutor for over Drannith.
So I actually did just slot in Delny. I think I forgot to update it on this list. But I did throw Delny in. I'm trying to think of what, looking at my list, I'm trying to remember what I cut for Delny. I think I actually cut the Phantasmal Image and slotted in Delny.
Yeah, that was going to be another one I was going to recommend, was like Phantasmal Image. I think there's better clones right now. I doubt we're probably trying to clone our own stuff with Fimage. I think we'll probably try to clone something else valuable from somebody else, like maybe a Kinnan or something like that. In that case, I would probably recommend Imposter Mech instead. Imposter Mech is like the last OBM, right? Because once you have an Imposter Mech OBM, it's very, very hard, near impossible to get rid of. And it's basically the same casting cost as Fimage, and it doesn't die immediately to a light gust of wind.
I am on, which I didn't go through the list. I am on Imposter Mech currently.
Very nice. Yeah. I think that like you don't need to be on a ton of clones. You could probably just cut that for a flex slot.
I felt the same way. I felt like the Fimage was almost like too much, so that was why I ended up taking it out. So I definitely agree with you there.
So actually, what I think might be worthwhile, and this is going to take a little bit of time, so I hope you're okay with that. But
yeah, that's totally fine.
What I want to do is show you kind of, I think you're probably a really good person to show this to. I want to show you my deck building process, and I think we could crank out a Zur list pretty quickly.
Okay.
If you can leave up yours, or if you can send me yours,
yeah,
I'll pull up what I need here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go to this. Oh, whoops. And then, do you want me to just go back to Discord and send it to you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so tech illiterate.
Did you, in CastingCostcEDH, do you do lowercase CEDH or is it capital?
It's lowercase c and then capital EDH.
Okay, I thought so.
Yes.
All right, let me share my screen with you.
Oop.
Just a second. Figure out how to do that.
Sorry, I know that it's going to be like craziness now.
What's your Discord or your
like my username?
Not your Discord, your I got it. If you follow me back, I can invite you to this list.
Yeah. Gotcha.
All right. All right. So I added you as a editor, so we can go through this a little bit later. You can make changes and whatever you want to do. But all right, can you see my screen? Okay.
Oh, is it? One sec. I need to pull up your. Yeah, like this. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, but that's me. Oh no, yeah, I've done that. Okay. But you can see this, right? You can just see just there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
is everything looking okay as far as like from your end?
well, I'm just recording my screen right now, so I'm not recording your screen. I'm
Okay,
just recording
cool.
mine. Yeah.
Cool. Just making sure. Just making sure.
Yep, you're good. So I've got these handy packages that I maintain and occasionally update. My process right now is I've got a list of staples. If I click that staples list, it pulls all of them in. And
Oh, nice.
it pulls in a big sideboard, and then these are kind of the ones that I would say are like most commonly seen in this archetype.
Mm-hmm.
So what I typically do is we'll go in here, hit bulk edit, take everything from the main deck, and just like jam it in the sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll look at it briefly and then just jam it in the sideboard. So now we've got these like 177 cards in our sideboard that are just really common CEDH staples. You can see Delny, Sightgrift, Chain of Smog doesn't apply to this archetype, but it's there, you know. And then what I'll do is I'll take mana rocks. I won't move these to the sideboard, but I'll just add them. And then I'll do lands, our dual lands, and then our utility lands. So unfortunately we have to go through here and pick out the ones that aren't applicable. So in this case it's just Wooded Foothills, so we'll move that to the considering, and then look and see, is there anything else weird here that we don't need? I don't think so. I think this is all pretty normal, right? And then like we're on Cavern, I think that makes sense because Zur is a human, and
yes.
Yeah. So this is kind of what I see as my standard artifact package. I think Fellware Stone can like be in and out. It just kind of depends on what we end up with. But right now we're at 36 cards, and then like a solid baseline. We'll probably go up plus 2 lands from this. And then I'll just start going like, what are the cards out of this that you see are like kind of must plays? Like I think we were on Archivist before, right?
Yes.
So I think that's a really solid card in Esper to include. We don't need Basalt Monolith. Like probably Born is something worthwhile.
Yes.
And I'll just start going through and adding stuff. So if you see something, just call it out. I'll drag it in.
Yeah. So Adnaz is one that like I said, I play just because it is a 1-card combo with Zur like that and the Unlife. So it allows me to just like basically pick up my whole deck. And then worst case scenario, like I just cast it on instep, go into my turn with like a lot of cards in hand.
Has it been feeling good for you?
It's been a little bit wonky. I'm not gonna lie. I don't find myself. There have been a few times where I've cast it without the Unlife on board, and it's really, really hard to convert in Esper whenever you have a card like that that's just like, hey, you better win right now or else you're just like gonna die to combat damage.
Yeah,
so it has felt a little bit wonky.
And I think that it's going to push us in a direction that we don't necessarily want to go, because it's going to take us off of spells in which we could be running that are like higher casting cost.
Okay.
I said casting cost. But
see, that's why the name matters.
Oh my god, I can't get you out of my head. I think Downpour is pretty solid. I'm not sure if you're on Downpour, but
I'm not. I actually thought about slotting that in. I've tested it at one point. Like it was a while back, and it felt good. I don't remember why I ended up. I think I took it out to test something else. And
It's
it just
not
never made
really
its way back in.
tutorable off of Zur, is it? Like it's
No, yeah. So you can't. You won't get the storm payoff with the swing.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
but
you can
still
tutor
nice.
it. You won't get the storm payoff. That's the problem. So
Yeah.
I think it's overall like, and we're still gonna treat this as a control shell for now, right? So I think it's a really, really solid control card, and we'll see if it stays in. But this is not like a final thing or whatever. We're just gonna Are you on Copy Artifact? Do you like that
I'm
card?
not on the copy artifact.
Okay, I would probably recommend it. It's just another option.
Okay.
Because if you have Zur, you can just tutor a One Ring copy, and that
Hmm.
feels pretty solid.
Hmm.
Let's pull Delny. Um, I don't. What did I miss up here? I missed something.
Yeah, as far as like the other stuff that's up there, I do play. Like there are cards up there that I do play, but as far as like things that are like musts, nothing that I can like
Yeah,
see right
I
now.
think we should like try to add the kind of like uh, shell focus stuff, and then if we've got some flex slots, we
Yes.
can add our flavor and stuff like that. So let's get Sentinel.
Yes.
Mastermind's fantastic.
Yeah. I
Dress
like that a
down's
lot too.
probably really insane here. Although maybe not actually, because you're kind of tutoring on your turn, right? So
Yes. Yeah. I've tried dress down. I'm not a big fan of it, unfortunately, in the list.
yeah, that makes sense. Um, I think one of the big questions we're gonna have to answer is like Fierce Guardianship and Deadly Relic, if those are
Hmm.
worthwhile includes.
Hmm.
I don't know what the answer is right now, but you should probably start thinking about it.
I've already thought about it, so don't worry.
Okay.
Man, it's the
Gifts
number of
is
games where I've had to like hard cast the fierce is like insane. It almost like because they're almost like it's been getting cast a little bit more here recently, but
mhm.
the number of games where like it's just dead in hand and I just bought them in a mulligan is it's insane.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good indication that you probably shouldn't be running it. Let's put March in. I think March is a good. Uh, and Mirror Maid is. Are you on Mirror Maid and copy or just one of the two?
Just Mirror Maid at the moment. That card's so good. I love that card.
It really is.
Yeah, whenever that's actually what drew me to the deck originally. Like I was saying, Xander he was playing the version that was two heuristics, which he I think was on Estrid's Invocation, and then he switched it to Mirror Maid, and it's such a good card. So that really drew me to this version of the list.
Estrid's very interesting.
Mhm.
Pact. Um, Probably. I don't know about Path and Swords. We'll just add both for now.
Mhm.
Ranger Captain. Heuristic Study. Um, Recruiter of the Guard is interesting. You can see like we're down. Cat's on the counter. Um,
There you go.
Sorry.
Heck yeah.
Uh,
No, you're good. Looking Tithe,
Ripples is
Shredder
also really
Silence.
interesting. Yeah, and it feels bad like to run Tithe because you're like, oh, I can't tutor it with Zer, but that doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
No, no, I definitely agree. I think that
Sync,
it's
Tithe,
just
Spell Snare, Spire, Springleaf. We don't have enough creatures for Springleaf. We don't have guaranteed creatures.
yeah.
Swan Song, sure. Swords, yes. Tainted Pact. Thassa's. I appreciate that you're not running things like Talion in the 99 because
Hmm.
I just think that kind of pushes you in a direction you don't necessarily want to go.
I believe it or not, I used to run Talion and that card got cut because I was like it same thing. It just it there were a lot of games where it would just set in my hand and it would never get cast. I was like, no, I'm not gonna or I would cast it and in order to you would be in a weird position where like you would have to tap out and it
Yeah,
just wasn't ever worth it. Like the payoff just wasn't worth it.
right.
Or you would just cast it and then try to Thassa combo later and just lose to the force draw.
I'm just adding Trouble in Pairs because I think it's pretty damn powerful.
Hmm.
Um, I yeah. I don't know if I'm missing anything here that's like absolutely necessary.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
just from like what I'm seeing too.
Delay is an interesting one. That's pretty common in control shells. Oh, counterbalance. I'm a counterbalance enjoyer. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, yeah. The early iteration of the deck that I had counterbalance in. It was fun.
Okay, so let's start there. That gives us. Oh, here's. Should we run Teferi? I don't know. Teferi Kitten, I don't feel like does anything inherent in this deck aside from
Yeah,
just being
that's
the
the problem.
colors.
Yeah, that's one of the problems. Like I don't again, like I don't run that either, just because I don't. There's no other good reason to have Kitten in the deck other than just for the Teferi. Like there was no other, I guess, like synergy with it. Even in like some of the other lists that I see, like obviously with Tivit, there's a reason to like blink the Tivit or like other creatures that you could potentially blink. But yeah, in the Zer list, the only thing that you would potentially like I guess like flicker would be like an OBM or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like you're okay. I see you're running steel. That's interesting. Necro, touch. Touch seems good. We have a kitten. He's just a terror. Here's touch. Am I missing necro? There's necro. OBM. That's what I'm missing. Mnemonic betrayal. What am I doing?
I mean, but it's so
Mystical
good.
tutor.
It's terrible to say early, but it's so good.
Oh, of course. I mean, some cards are just unignorable. I think Meme Bet's one of them.
Mhm.
While it sucks early, it's still blue. You can pitch it to something and it's fine.
Absolutely.
But or pitch it to Chrome Mox and it's even better, right? But
Yep.
just if the game goes late, if you resolve a Meme Bet, you just win.
Mhm.
Demonic Tutor, probably need that one.
Do you recommend Imp Seal or no?
Yeah, I miss that too.
It's all
Down
good.
here somewhere,
It's
Imposter
next to
Mech.
Imposter Mech.
Yep. Probably Flood Maw as well. Do you run intuition, like intuition piles or gifts piles?
I don't. I had been looking at a couple of like potential intuition piles, but no, I don't run any at the moment.
Okay. So when you boil it down, like your win con is Thassa decon, what else do you have? Do you have a backup?
Literally, so if you go,
Yep.
like I go through the primer and like it basically explain it, but like literally the only like win line in the deck is Thassa and then like one of the Forbidden Tutors, and then if you lose that option, you have like the Praetor's Grass to potentially steal a Thassa. If you lose that option, it's pretty much meme bet. If you lose that, then there's technically the potential to do like a clone of a Kennen, like Fairy Mastermind, and then like Tithe
Or double
is an option
tithe
there.
and
Uh,
mastermind. Yeah.
yeah,
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 that makes
and then
sense.
the other option is just Necro for a ton, OBM, and then Windfall. And that's actually been relevant before, but that's like all of the technical like win conditions in the deck.
I see. And you're on 29 lands. That's probably plus
Mhm.
one from where I would be. That feels a little high.
Yeah, I actually thought about coming down a land. I think I was. I don't know if I've updated the list since I took it out, but I was on Monamo. I just took out Monamo recently.
I think I would go down two. So like I'd go down probably starting town and Inspire and just go plus like Stinking of Stupor.
Okay.
But I mean just having built out this list, I think we're pretty close. I missed Flusterstorm. Why do I always do this? I'm so bad.
Hey, it's all it's all good, man.
I don't ever look
I
at
feel like
I look at
now.
things like this. So like this is I normally do. I'm a text degenerate, so I just look like this.
I got you. I do think that it's really interesting, like you said, like just this type of like deck building philosophy. I think that that's or like the way that you actually like put decks together. I think that that's really really cool because it looks like it makes things a lot simpler.
It feels like it. And while I think the decks lose their flavor a little bit because you're kind of running a standard package, right? Um, I think that okay. So this is yeah, I think it's just a good way to start, and then obviously I do a lot of playtesting, and I'll move on pretty quickly from this and into what feels good. And I'm a very like,
Yeah.
I feel this way about something, and that's what I'm going to play. I'm yeah, there's data and there's all that stuff, right? But that doesn't necessarily represent me, and I'm not necessarily the best player or the average player either. So I kind of want to do what I'm used to or what feels good for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that that makes sense.
All right. I think we're in a pretty good spot here. So let's go over this before we get too much farther. So I'm going to go back to our visual grid here. Let's take a look. We're on 12 creatures. We can actually pull these side by side. So let's do that.
Nice.
Let me mute my notifications. Okay, you're on 15. So you're on the Zur specific children, Dranith. We're on Delny. I missed Grandabalshire. That's just insane. What am I doing?
It's all good.
Did you
Oh, there
see
he
it
is,
too,
the one
or
on the
did you?
No, I missed it too. It's always that art that gets me. I
No.
never look at that and I go, oh
I
yeah.
should do this.
Heck yeah.
You're my preferred printing.
Oh, dude, I love etched cards. If I could fully like
Yeah.
foil etch this deck out,
Word
it would be
Oppo.
fully foil etched.
OBM. Okay, so we're off of Phantasmal, the Ranger Captain,
Yes.
Thassa, Voice, and we're no Storm Drake. Okay, so I think this is kind of like your baseline creature package in Esper, at least in this deck. This feels really solid to me, and we've trimmed a little bit of the fat here. Children is interesting, and it's relatively low consequence, but it also just kind of feels weird sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorceries, we're missing Praetor's Grasp. We're not on Toxic because we haven't selected a board wipe yet, but I think that's probably the right one. In Esper, I really, really like Time Twister over Windfall, personally.
Okay.
Because just recycling those things back into your library, and you can start the bullshit again with your heuristic studies and your draw engines and all that, especially in control shells. Twister is very devastating to breach decks. I like that. I don't know if you've messed around with the difference between Twister and Windfall.
Yeah, I think the only reason, which again, this is it doesn't always come up obviously, but the only time I think that one of the only reasons why I opted for Windfall was just because of like the potential like extra damage there with like an OBM, but also to like potentially feed my own like mnemonic betrayal in like certain situations, but also like that it's not going to come up very often. So that was like the only reason why I just opted for it instead of the Time Twister. But I do think Time Twister's a good include, and I can see the reason to like recycle stuff. That definitely makes sense.
I could see it both ways. I can also just see not running a wheel. Wheel plus OBM is kind of a win con, right? But a lot of times it just doesn't really get you there. So
Yeah.
I'll talk about, you're aware of scheming in Oppo, right?
Yes.
I think if you're on Oppo, scheming is a really, really easy include. I don't know if you heard my theory about this card, but I run Scheming Symmetry and Glarb, and that's probably like my most prolific control list. In that deck, it's a top deck tutor, and Glarb loves top deck tutors. But in general, I would say that Scheming is just another imp seal where you can offer it to anyone and say like, hey, I'll give you the Scheming if you get a land and show me it's a land or whatever. One person at the table is going to go, sure, I'll do that. Either that, or you're going to have people go, I'll get whatever you need me to get. Like, it's not that hard of a card to just like negotiate out and not really get a downside from. But combined with Oppo, it could be a second Thassa Decon. It could be a second Thassa Tanning Pack. It could be Underworld Breach plus a Brain Freeze, from somebody else.
Yeah.
It could be so many
That
things.
definitely makes sense.
So I really like that card in especially in control lists, because the idea is you're in control, so you probably shouldn't care as much what people are getting, because you ideally will have an answer, or if it's bad enough, you can just take care of it. Flood color, I guess I'm unsure about. I think that's going to come down to if you're feeling comfortable without flash. I know Esper is kind of a weird one, but I think it's
Hmm.
kind of a hard card to ignore.
Yeah, it's one of those weird cards where like I've tested it a lot in the list. That's why it's just not in there. Like in step, I was finding that there was like if I did Necro Deep, there was no win con for it. A lot of times, like it's nice to have just because a lot of times I am like holding up mana to like interact. So like worst case scenario, I just drop it, and then if you draw some cards, like maybe I'll flash in some rocks, things like that. But a lot of times it just ended up setting in my hand, like never getting cast. So like I think I ended up cutting it. I don't remember what I swapped in its place. I can't remember,
Yeah,
but I do remember. Yeah,
we can put
but
a
also I don't think it's
pause
a
on
bad
that.
card. I think right now.
Yeah, we can put a pause on this for sure. I think it's just kind of a. It seems good, but maybe the context is missing there. Talk to me about culling the week, and while you're on that,
Just because of like the
Nas.
Nas plan. So like a lot of the times, like what would happen is I would go to like Necro Deep, and then if for some reason like I'm in instep, or yeah, I'm in my instep, and I've got like open mana because like the nice thing about Zer, like most times when you're necroing, you're having to like it's really mana intensive. Like you obviously like the three black pips. Zer kind of gives you that luxury of having a little bit of extra open mana, like I get to swing and go see all the cards with all my mana untapped. So like a lot of times you're just like gonna eat the Zerg to like a Calling the Weak, make 4 mana, potentially then go into like a Dark Rid or like a Cabal Writ, cast the Nas, and then if you have Angel's Grace, you just pick up the rest of your deck, flash in all your free rocks, and then like Thassa, or same thing. Like that's typically what the plan was. Or if I just had like an early Esper Sentinel and I saw an opportunity to Nas, you would just like Calling the Weak and go rip a Nas.
Yeah. Um. Interesting. Yeah. Do you think that? I know you said Nas is like kind of a one card, but I know it's really not a one card. It's you need Angel's Grace or Children, right, to kind of make it work.
Yeah, it's children
Or
typically
or,
I'll pair it
or
up
sorry,
with like the
Phyrexian
necro, but
on
yeah.
life, right?
Yes, yeah. Which I'm finding that right now the unlife plan is a little it not a little bit, it's very risky because like even though you'll have a lot of these cards in hand and you're like, okay, well if somebody tries to like destroy the unlife, I've got the opportunity to like stop it. But there have been a lot of games where I've ripped and like literally drawn so many cards. And then because like Esper doesn't make a ton of mana, like you're kind of choked up in that moment. Like you need to be able to start casting some of your free rocks. So
Mm-hmm.
like you'll go to start taking actions, and then somebody will just like channel and blow up your unlife, and then you'll just die because your life total is like negative 160.
Yeah, that does
Yeah,
sound quite risky. That reminds me of
yeah,
Doomsday and Glarb, where yes, Doomsday works with Glarb well in a vacuum, but if someone
yeah,
removes your Glarb in response to your Doomsday and you don't have anything for it, you kind of resolve Doomsday and then sit there and go, I can't really do anything, and I have 5 cards in my library. I hope someone doesn't windfall
yeah,
me. Like, um, yeah, it's just I can definitely see that pattern being a little bit odd. Um,
yeah. So but yeah, that has happened quite a few times. I normally, it's terrible to say, but like there are times where I normally will Angel's Grace Nas way more than I Unlife Nas.
sure. I think we might just like. I think your deck might be held back by that package of Nas, Angel's Grace, Unlife, and
Yeah.
Children. Honestly, I think that could be just like the one thing that's
Okay.
kind of holding you back
I
from.
do.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say. So typically the children, I'm not using it for the Nas. Typically I'm using it in to pair more with like the Necropotence. So like if I just want to rip like a bunch of cards with Necro and then just sack the children for like you, it allows you to basically like rip however much life you have into Necro and then just gain it all back and give you that like cushy barrier to like see a ton of cards. If you can win an instep, then you can just kind of go for it, or you just like sculpt a nice hand and then you basically just like necrode for free, if that makes sense. But I don't normally use the children with ad nauseum,
Right.
like
That
really
makes
ever.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's
Mhm.
a decent include there, but I suppose why wouldn't farm be running children then?
Yeah, yeah. No, it definitely makes sense. I think the reason that it works just a little better here is because I have the necro technically in the zone, but I do understand what you're saying too.
Let me tell you about my friend Jay. Jay is one of the best and most technical players I know, and most people probably have not heard of him if they don't watch our channel. Uh, Jay went from playing Marnia. Well, he started on Shorekai, and then he played Marnius, and now he's playing Farm. Um, without fail, turn two, it's either Tithe or it's Necro for him. Like almost every game, and that's because he mulligans extremely hard for it, and or he tutors for it. And I think the potential for you to do that in this deck is very high, and you can do basically the same thing. But I do think that Children, while it's a neat strategy, it is a
Mhm.
bad card because your deck
I
cannot convert a
absolutely, yeah.
Necro like Farm can.
Yes, no, I definitely agree with that.
So I think it would give you a flex spot uh, to run sort of this control shell. Even running things like Dispel. And I mean, I think Gilded Drake is fine, but I would caution that Gilded Drake or Volatile Storm Drake kind of introduce something that um, it's hard to bring out of the game, and you can start fights over things that you're like, hey, there's kind of something else happening silently where like Farm doesn't care about a Volatile Storm Drake or a Gilded Drake, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, I
So
definitely think that makes sense. Which I did, same thing. Like I used to be on. I made a couple of edits, like just going into pool priority.
mm-hmm.
But before that, I was on more of a counter package. Like I was still had the include of like Dispel. I was running Miscast, and I think I was. Oh, I can't remember. I think there was another counter. I think that I may have been on.
Spell
I may have
Pierce
only been on
maybe.
10, or no. Actually, I think that's right. I think it was Miscast and Dispel because I think right now I'm on 9 counters in the deck. I was on 11, I believe, in the deck.
So what? Okay, we're at 99 cards. I think we have a functional deck, technically speaking. So we're at 27, 28, which is two lower plus a half. That seems good. Um, did I get Necro? Yes. We were on a couple more enchantments and a couple more pieces here. Did you see that I added Rest in Peace?
I did not see that, but I do see it. Yeah.
I found a lot of success with Zur in this card. Do you have any thoughts about that?
No, I mean I definitely think that that card's good. I've played other decks that run Rest in Peace, and a lot of times it every time it comes down, people get just yeah. I definitely think that it has a way of like hurting the table, but without affecting us anywhere near as much.
It's hard. It I would caution that I'm not saying that you need to run the card, but it might be worth considering depending on what your local meta is like. It does
Mhm.
work against our own Mnemonic Betrayal, even kind of Twister a little bit. Um,
Mhm.
if we're on the Necro plane, it obviously doesn't do anything to us, but I would kind of caution that. That was just an idea I had was to run that. Um, you're on one
Yeah.
ring, Wish Claw. You're on two talismans, Felwar Stone, Arcane Signet, Arcane Felwar. I think one talisman is probably. You're on Hierarchy? No. Oh, Progress. Are you? Is Talisman of Progress feeling okay?
Yeah, believe it or not, I actually I added in the Talisman of Dominance. I was just on the progress.
Oh, interesting. Let's see what our color
Hmm.
breakdown is. Let's look at yours. This is not like a super big mana deck. I don't think that we necessarily need 4 2-color or 4 2-mana talismans. That feels like a lot.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah.
Was there something I was missing here? No, I'm on Flood Caller. Okay. What do you think our last 2 spots should be? Something like copy.
I definitely think copy would be a fine include.
Hey Emily, what's that 1 white enchantment? Something to do with heart.
The temporary lockdown. Is that what you're talking about? The one that like exiles a bunch of stuff? Or are you talking about Grasp of Fate?
Grasp of Fate. I've liked Grasp and is it temporary lockdown or is it what's the other one that's really bad?
Temporary lockdown. Out of time.
Out of time
is the one that phases them out. Okay.
Yeah. I like Grasp and I like Out of Time. I don't know how. Have you tested those?
I used to be. Yeah, I used to be on Grasp. If you, I don't know if you'd even be able to see his list, but like I said, like the list that I got a lot of the inspiration from was Fizzle's Touristics deck. But yeah, he's on like that kind of stuff. So that was where I tested a lot of the cards that are like in his list. But yeah, Grasp was one of them that I tried. It's weird because a lot of times I don't know if this probably isn't right. I don't know if it makes sense, but like a lot of times people would run like enchantments that you could go fetch with Zur to then like get rid of like problematic like pieces at the table, things like that. A lot of times I would just opt to like instead go and potentially like Necro or do something and like just rip a couple of cards into Necro in the attempt to just like find a thing to remove the piece anyway that's like an instant speed type of like card, and then also potentially like sculpt a good hand rather than just like, because it like a lot of times it would feel bad to just like go Zur, swing, get a Grasp, and then I would shut off like 3 things from each, like I would shut off 1 thing from each person, but a lot of times what would end up happening is like, I would get rid of a problematic piece that's there, and then somebody would potentially like you were like with the Flash Meta, they would like win over top of me because now they were on. So a lot of times I would just like rip, go grab a lot of cards, and then potentially like see if I could string together win. If not, just keep some interaction, keep a potential win, get back to my turn, and then try to win there. Which I don't know that line's obviously right, but that was just what I tend to do as far as like play pattern goes.
That I understand that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think using Zur as a toolbox is probably it's kind of a pipe dream. It doesn't really toolbox that well. You can grab answers, right? But it's only on your turn and only at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
Playing control is great, but also just winning the game is better. And I don't really think I'm going to argue with you on that. Like I think we're both kind of in agreement on that one. And control is a good way to win the game most of the time. But one thing I was going to say was, how do you feel about Grand Arbiter here? If we're going to play more of a control list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the card. I don't think it's terrible by any means. What am I trying to say? Do you think that card is better than something like potentially Lavinia?
I think Lavinia is going to get you into a lot of hot water really fast.
I was just curious.
Yeah. I've seen Grand Arbiter work really well in decks like Tivit and occasionally Marnius, and I think that it could work well here. Lavinia is just a card that causes a lot of problems, especially with free spells, and your opponents can still pay for counter spells and stuff like that. But Lavinia will just shut off all counter spells from your opponents, and that's really not necessarily what you want to do.
Gotcha.
In control, I don't think that shutting off your opponents from game actions is you more want them to make game actions that align with your plan. You don't necessarily want them to stop making game actions. Your opponents will
Okay.
start to do
Well,
very
that makes
desperate
sense.
things if they're unable to make game actions, and you don't want them to be desperate. Um, I don't know. I think it's just a thought. I think Grand Arbiter is an interesting card
Yeah.
that I'm always kind of like looking for a spot for, but probably doesn't make the cut in
Yeah.
most decks.
Hmm. No, I definitely think that makes sense. That's actually really interesting. I feel like I've not thought of it from that lens. Like you said, like where when like you said, like when people are get desperate, they almost get like trigger happy, like they want to be playing the game. So if you're shutting them off of playing the game, they start to remove things that may obviously like it's problematic for them, but it's like really problematic for another person. Like I've seen that like another deck that I will play every once in a while will be like Sithis,
Oh yeah, yeah,
which I play like a very like storm version of Sithis. But one card in the deck that always gets hated out. So like Stony Silence,
yeah,
it is without fail. Somebody will remove the Stony Silence, and it is almost never the person who wins that removes the Stony Silence. It's somebody else that does it, and then another player just wins.
yeah.
So I definitely that actually makes a lot of sense when you say that.
That's kind of the stacks play pattern, right? Is you create a lock on the board, and then someone stumbles into, oh my gosh, I can remove this stacks that doesn't, so I can do something, and then as soon as it's gone, somebody else is like, wait, I'm actually way better at this than you, and then they go off and win, right?
Yep,
You just never
exactly.
know
Yeah,
what's
so that makes a lot
hiding
of
behind
sense.
that rock, basically.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
really
this list
interesting.
is kind of in a solid spot. I'm sure that there's some
Okay.
tweaks that we can make here, but this is kind of where, if I were like looking at a Zer list, or just if you told me, you messaged me on Discord, and you're like, hey Logan, I want you to put together a Zer control list, and gave me no other information, this is where I would start.
Hmm.
I want to
Okay.
play a lot of.
I really
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, you're good. Go ahead and say.
I was just gonna say, like, I want to play a lot of good and free counter spells. We've cut Fierce and Rollick because the commander's not guaranteed and will probably get removed if we do play him. Um, we're kind of playing like Tivit, so we're willing to sort of control the board and do stuff like that, and sit behind our powerful enchantments and use them to our advantage. We have tools like Downpour. Out of Time, I'm not sure about. I think we could probably run like Deluge instead if that makes you more comfortable. But these are good board controlling pieces. Some things that we've added are Commandeer, because I think that card is incredibly powerful right now. I cannot stand this printing of it. But Commandeer is like, we've got enough blue cards to consistently pitch to Commandeer, and that also, believe it or not, fixes our opening hand a lot of the time. If we're especially in third or fourth seat and we see a Commandeer on like a 6 or a 7, that actually is not that bad, because you can Commandeer a
Yeah.
One Ring, you can Commandeer a Ristic Study, or even a Fish. Um, I would caution you
Hmm.
to not Commandeer a Fish if you don't have any lands, because then you can't pay for it. But
Yeah.
or
Fair.
even
Fair.
or even a Tithe or whatever. I mean, it's also like one of those tools later in the game where you have surplus cards in your hand with Ristic Study and or Necro. You can take a counter spell, or you can take a Mind Break trap from someone. It's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
This is something that I did have a question about because so I watched your coaching video you did with Bitsy because I love Bitsy. He like the moment we did a Kefka gameplay on the channel, he immediately joined the Discord, started like preaching the word of Kefka basically.
Yeah,
So
he's
like
an
in my
awesome dude.
opinion, I like yeah, Bitsy's hilarious. But so I did see like in his deck when y'all were tweaking some stuff, y'all were finding a couple of ways to like manipulate like untapping the One Ring and stuff like that. Would
Hmm.
there be a point to like, would there be a case like in this deck, for instance, potentially running something like what is it like Unstoppable Plan to like fetch with Zer and then like do some untapped shenanigans with the One Ring, or is that like too slow or like not really good enough? Like
Actually,
what would you? Okay.
I think that's a pretty solid case for Unstoppable Plan. Actually, you know what we could do is we can pull out Mox Amber. I think that's a card that needs a home and could probably find a good home here. especially in a control list. If we're able to get Zur and get an attack off and play an unstoppable plan. Unfortunately, it says non-land permanents, right? So that counts our creatures, which don't really do anything for us, and then our artifacts. But this could be a decent home for it. Alternatively, you could just run Dramatic Reversal.
That's true, yeah. That is true.
Because that's about how many times this thing is going to go off.
Yeah, no, that is fair. There was a, yeah, that was a, there was like early versions of the deck where I was trying to do like One Ring abuse, like shenanigans, like the Banishing Knack and the Volatile Drake and stuff like that, and like trying to find ways to potentially like make mana, bounce the One Ring, and like cast it, tap it down, and like do stuff like that.
Right.
But that just never worked out.
No, it makes sense. And the One Ring, it's falling out of favor in certain lists because it's a little slow. I think the meta is speeding up quite a bit. People are realizing that we don't have to play mid range. You can just start playing extremely proactively, and the One Ring doesn't really help you play control, and it doesn't really help you play mid range until like 2 turns after it's down or 1 turn after it's down. So. Tools like Manifold Key, which I'm pretty big on in decks like this, I think just kind of help you abuse it just a little bit more. And I think this is a really good deck for cards like Urza Saga, where we can tutor out that Soul Ring or Manifold Key. I could even see us playing like Sensei's Top if you're finding that you're like bigger on the counterbalance plan to help manipulate that top of the library. You could also play Bolas' Citadel. Bolas Citadel top and Children is not bad either.
That's actually funny.
I don't know if there's a good way for us to get top or get a Citadel out of Yard though, if we like Entomb it.
Yeah.
But overall, I think like the deck is okay right now. What I wanted to do is, because this is a really successful control list, and I know we're only sharing 2 colors here, but if we take a look at my Glarb list, I wanted to look at the counter spell and the interaction package and see what Glarb is running that we're not. I'm pretty reliant on Glarb as a pseudo engine and just kind of being out and being part of the game. So that's why we see Fierce and Rollick. But looking at these other cards, they're mostly green or lands, and I don't really see anything that's like too terribly different here. A couple of removal pieces. Inconsequential Consecrated Sphinx. Emrakul. Beseech is interesting. And then if you look at this, we're running other powerful cards like Savin's Reclamation, Delny, Esper Sentinel, Ranger Captain.
Oh, okay. Now that you just said something about Delny, that is something that I had a question about. Because I
Sure.
remember, and I because I am just curious your opinion on this, because obviously like you're a good player, like you have a track record that obviously is very good. So like I obviously value that opinion. But like I remember whenever Delny first was like, I think whenever he got spoiled, we were talking about it in the Zur Discord, because obviously like you can go and it doubles up your fetches with Zur and things like that. Somebody had made a comment where they said that Delny felt like a win more card rather than like, I forget the word they used, but essentially they called it like a win more card, where like if you're behind, it doesn't really do anything for you to like get, like it doesn't, like it alone doesn't fix anything for you, and then if you're already like doing well, then it just gets you like farther ahead. What do you think about, I guess, like that line of thought? Like, is that just like, do you not agree with that, or like what is your
hate answering questions with I hate answering questions with questions, but let me propose a game plan to you. Turn 1, we play land.
Yes.
Lotus Petal Lotho. Okay, we make
Yes.
2 treasures from Lotho, come around, we draw Delny for turn. Uh, do you think a turn 2 Delny and the potential to make 6 treasures by turn 3 is powerful or not?
I think it's very good.
Yeah. And Delny plus Esper Sentinel is incredibly powerful as well. Just drawing 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it can be win more when you're ahead. But I think that Esper sort of lacks the tools to just simply convert just card advantage into a win. So you kind of need that overwhelming card advantage. You need that overwhelming mana advantage in Esper to push you across the finish line.
No, that definitely makes sense. I just was curious, like, what your opinion was on that, so I wanted to throw that out there.
I think it's very deck context dependent as well. I think we've got a really good creature package right here that lends itself well to playing Delny. And you know, whether it sticks around or not, but like it kind of fixes our Zur plan, because we can play Zur, then play Delny after and have double study, or Ristic Study Necro, or you know, some combination of things that are like really hard for your opponents to deal with. It could be out of time in Ristic Study, and it's like, geez, that's pretty rough. You've wiped the board and you've deployed a draw engine.
Yeah. No, that sounds really good. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense.
That's my take on it.
I can see that. That definitely. Yeah. No, I definitely think that.
I think Delny would be like classified as a win more card in Blue Farm.
Okay.
But because specifically you have a commander that can take advantage of Delny, plus all of these other like little creatures that draw you cards and or make you mana, that it's probably a worthwhile include.
Gotcha.
Taru is maybe worth considering here as well.
Yeah, that was one of the lines of thought that I had considered. Like, again, whenever I was going back to looking at Blue Farm and trying to say, okay, like, what are some of these cards, and like how could I find things that are probably not as good but like could potentially slot in there. Like, I was looking at things like Taru. I was even going deep in the well and looking at things like Deep Gnome Terramancer at one point.
I like Deep Gnome. It also works with Delny. It only fetches planes.
It does only trigger just once per turn. It can be any planes card.
Yeah,
so like, it doesn't have to be a basic, but it only is once per turn.
Yeah, that is kind of rough.
Yeah, just like the Taru, the only once per turn thing.
Yeah, I did notice a couple things in our land package. Part of my normal land package for most decks is City of Traders, and I'll usually end up taking it out. But I think it's okay in this deck. That's kind of up to you, is whether you would keep that or not. Emergence Zone feels very strange out of green decks, but I've seen some decent success with it. So not to say that I've ever tutored for it, but it's okay. We could probably just run like Morphic Pool and whatever else instead. Trouble in Pairs, that's kind of a stylistic thing. I think the card's really, really powerful. Let me do one last compare here. The other thing I was going to talk to you about, do you think your deck mulligans well?
I think that, I would say it's good at finding like the little 1-drop type, like 1 and 2-drop value engines, but like as far as like early like Ristics or like Tides, Necros, things like that, no. A lot of times like my keeps will be like turn 1 Esper, turn 1 Fish, stuff like that, or maybe like an Archivist.
Yeah, I've been valuing Archivist really highly lately. It's been really overperforming. That card's incredible.
Yeah, I've seen some lists cutting it, and like that card has brought me back to life in games before.
So let's take a look at what I just put together, or we just put together in this package here. It's 21 cards that are different than your current. What is your take on what we see at the top versus what we see at the bottom here?
I actually like a lot of the includes at the top. I'm not gonna lie. I think that Sinking to Stupor is pretty good. I heard I never thought again like it's just little things like that that you don't really think about until um, like you hear someone else say it. But I like Sinking to Stupor, being able to like imprint it to Chrome Mox or be able to pitch it to like a Mox Diamond. It like things like that. So I think that that's really nice. I like Misdirection. I was actually looking at that card. I thought about adding it in, so I think it's good to just go ahead and add it in. Dispel, I think that's fine. I was actually same thing. I was wanting to add it back in.
Hmm.
Um, Commandeer is interesting. I still think that it's really good too. So I think that that's actually like a nice include. I like that it feels a little more interactive. Um, I actually like the Scheming Symmetry edition because it feels like it is a much more mana efficient way to like abuse uh it's a much more mana efficient way to like go about winning the game rather than like having to make 6 mana to do like ad nauseum and Grace, or potentially even having to like
Praetor's
again
Grasp,
like go and
another
swing with
piece.
her and get the unlife. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Praetor's Grass, same thing. So I actually really like that inclusion. Um, I think that Monamo makes sense too with like the One Ring copy artifact to be able to like clone the One Rings. I think that's great. I'm curious to see how Counterbalance does. I might throw back in a Sensei's Top too. The only card, I think the only card that I'm looking at on the top that like actually is giving me just thought is like the Urza Saga. But even then, like it's like you said, I could easily just like swap out one of these other like lands for the Urza Saga. I think that card's powerful. So even that makes sense.
I've been
But yeah,
liking
I
Urza
actually like the
Saga
list.
in these type of lists where you can just, okay, I'll get a Manifold Key, or I'll get Mana Vault or Soul Ring, or
Mm-hmm.
and obviously that's what it does at its base level, right? But
Yeah.
I think that mana production in general is important, and it's kind of hard to ignore that.
Mm-hmm.
This list is not
Yep.
trying to turbo out a win with. I think yours has that element of that with Nas and Phyrexian Unlife and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
but lining up those pieces was easier pre-ban because we could copy a dockside, kind of
Mm-hmm.
use that burst of mana to get those pieces out, including Zur.
Yes.
Where now we kind
Yes.
of have to sequence and we have to order and we have to account for variability and um, that kind of thing.
Mhm. No, I definitely yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think that I actually like the inclusion of Urza Saga too. I might actually throw the Sensei's Top back in to like abuse the counterbalance too. So I think that's actually going to be a fun little include. I actually really like the list. I think it looks really cool.
I'm going to tell you about a very cancerous play pattern that I have once encountered last week, and it was a deck that shouldn't be able to do it, but the deck that was doing it is inconsequential. It was counterbalance,
Hmm.
Ristic Study, copy of counterbalance. So they would resolve the
Ah,
Ristic Study in between the counterbalance triggers, and
that's so gross.
it is really, really disgusting.
Oh
So
man,
that
that's
this deck
really
has
good.
the potential to do that because we're on
Yeah.
copy, enchantment, mirror maid, that sort of thing. Um, my takeaways from the top here and my question marks are, uh, I think the cards that you're gonna go, I don't know about these, is probably Trouble in Paris and March of Swirling Mist,
Hmm.
and obviously
Hmm.
City of Traders. That's kind of like up to your style. I personally see
Hmm.
Grim Monolith as an uncuttable card. Um, I know not everyone sees it that way, but I just think that any mana positive rock that's like that, even if it is just tapped forever, um, I'm totally fine with.
Hmm.
It's just felt really good to me.
I, I, so I am curious because we were actually like do literally like 2 minutes before I hopped on the call with you. We were talking about this in the Zerd Discord, and a lot of the decks right now that I'm seeing that are doing really really well in Zerd are running like basically infinite mana, like an infinite mana type effect. So like uh, potentially like Grim Monolith and then like Power Artifact.
Okay.
Would there be a world where like potentially slotting in that to like because I mean if you technically just clone a Thrasios, you draw your deck. Would there be a world to like potentially slot that in, or is that just kind of like You think that's almost like too cute
I
or
don't see
like
why
too
not.
niche?
Um, Power Artifact only works with Grim, right? It doesn't work with Mana Vault. I don't think.
It doesn't work with Mana Vault. It works with Grim and it works with Basalt. But I don't want to. I don't want to like add in too many of those type of effects.
Yeah. Um, it is interesting. I just don't see what the outlet would be unless you clone a Thrasios. But cloning a Thrasios is not an impossible task. I did just remove the clone from your deck, aside from Imposter Mech, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we do have. Do we have Mockingbird still?
Yeah. Yeah, we're still on Mockingbird.
I think that. Yeah.
It's
I
definitely
just like I
possible.
said, I literally just. Yeah. Now, and obviously, like I'm not saying that we need to do that. That was just a play pattern that we have in the. I was asking them. I was like, do you think that's one of the reasons like why the deck is converting so well? Is like they just make infinite mana and then just steal this Thrasios and they say I'm gonna draw my deck now. But yeah, I didn't know.
I think most CDH decks, when they're producing infinite mana, will find a way to convert that into a win if they can, regardless of whether they're built for it or not.
Yeah.
I think you could probably always do. There's probably something silly you could do with. I know that Zur also was running like Heliod Ballista, right?
Yeah, I've tried that. I am not a fan of that.
Okay.
I've done it. Like I said, I have ran that, but yeah, a lot of times if you're seeing like the infinite mana outlet, like or the infinite mana Zur, they're gonna also be on that package because they're already running the walking ballista. So well, I can also go get.
That's
Heliod
that's the answer then. Is if you don't clone Thrasios, then you just find Ballista and you go ballistic with it. You just go infinite with it. So, yeah, I think that's probably and I would caution you against just playing hard control, which is kind of like how I angled this. A lot of decks are just looking for new and interesting ways to be proactive. If you can be proactive and present wins on an axis that's either hard to interact with or is unexpected or requires very few bad cards, that's probably the best type of deck right now. So if including like a power artifact and just like a random ballista is kind of inconsequential to your overall game plan, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Okay.
Because you're on black tutors, right? Like you have you can tutor whatever card you want to your hand or to the top of your library.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. I think that it's really interesting. This is something that Eric mentioned, like same thing when we were talking about Lomra. Like, I think he was talking about how, like, where you guys are at, like especially like in Denver, like a lot of people try to almost like play on top of mid range. Like you see a lot of like Consecrated Sphinx and things like that. Whereas I feel like a lot of people over here, especially like in the Nashville area, they try to like get under mid-range hill, like they try to win faster. And so I do wonder if like the deck that I built this off of is like Fizzle and they're from like Utah. So I do wonder if that has a little bit of like if some of the card choices and things that I originally like had thrown in were maybe more equipped to like handle a meta over there and then it's not doing as well over here, that like does play some part in it.
I think
So
your through line.
I think this is a good like revamp.
Your through line to survive those more proactive decks is to play control, especially in these colors. Otherwise, I would just be saying like play more proactive stuff. It's incredibly hard to play proactive in these colors. You must just kind of stop people when you can, and then if you get a second to breathe, you're like, okay, here's my value engine. Anyway, continue on. Like, and then
no, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, so Esper's it's a tough place to be in right now. And if you look at my Mox field and my lists and stuff, you'll see that I'm not playing a lot of Esper. I'm playing a lot of more red and green things that either add consistency or speed or ways to be proactive. I think just Esper specifically is kind of rough.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because like me and Chase, like this was probably like right before we actually started the channel, but we went to a tournament and I was playing same thing. I've played Zur for a long time. Like I originally played it like casually, and then I realized that's not a thing I was like, oh, okay, my friends are hating me right now. I need to probably play this at a CDH table.
Yeah.
So then I started playing it in CDH, and I went to tournaments and was just getting like absolutely wrecked. And I had this like moment where me and Chase were sitting there talking, and I said, "Do I stick with Zur or do I move to like something different?" He's like, "Well, like you could play Blue Farm, like it's got the Esper, colors plus like another color, and it's the best deck of the format and everything else." And I literally like, and this probably is wrong, but I drew my line in the sand. I said, "Do I want to be somebody that wins the game, or do I want to be somebody that wins with Zur?" And I said, "I want to win with Zur." So I'm like fully committed to saying, "Hey, I want to do well with this deck." It's not even necessarily just like Esper, but like I just have such strong, I guess, like attachment to the commander
Hmm.
that I want to do well with the commander. So I'm willing to like do whatever it needs to happen to like make him viable again and like potentially like do again just like do better in the current like meta the way that CDH is right now.
And I think that's a totally realistic goal, and that's you recognizing that is important, because while winning is important, you might want to win a certain way, or you might want to prove a point with a certain commander. Um, I think your path to victory with Zur is to play kind of no bad cards. And I kind of hate giving this answer for every deck. I know you watched my Kefka video, but I'm kind of like, hey, if you want to win more, you should cut the bullshit. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's sad to say, but if you can use your commander for just like kind of incidental advantage, and if you get a Delny, you're like, oh, I'm kind of like actually winning now. That's probably good enough.
Yeah. So then I am curious because like obviously like Zur for the longest time was popular for like I guess like Turbo Necro. Is there a do you feel like that's a bad not like Turbo because like I'm not trying to turbo out the Necropotence right now, but like do you think that's I've even contemplated potentially like cutting the Necro at one point just because it can sometimes like tempt me down bad play patterns at times like do you think that's just something to like is there a way to like I guess like fix that or like to know when to or like to practice like finding those windows like when necropotence makes sense versus like hey no this is the plan we have set like stick to this like do you or is that question kind of like confusing?
No, I think that's so. What you're looking at is evaluating. Let's say you have Zur on turn 2 or 3 or whatever. Let's say you're untapping with Zur on turn 3, right? And you're ready
Yeah.
for swing. You go, okay, here are my options. Everything except for Tithe and Trouble in Pairs, right? And you're like,
Hmm.
when do I get Rhystic Study? When do I get Necro? I
Hmm.
think when your opponents have mulled low, you go Necro, because then they're not casting
Okay.
spells, right? Um,
Hmm.
I think when you get 2 triggers, you do either double Rhystic or you do Rhystic Necro, because then
Okay.
you're attacking things on. You're like, okay, well, if you're not going to cast spells, it doesn't matter. I have a Necro, and then, um, you have that backup of, well, if you're going to interact with me, I'm just going to draw cards on top of it.
Hmm.
Um, I think Rhystic Study is probably the good default, and when you're unsure, it's just like, oh, I'm going to copy Rhystic Study,
Hmm.
and I think that's totally fine. Um, I think you'll end up probably just tutoring for one over and over again, but sometimes the Necro will present itself to you where you have land Dark Rit Necro turn 1, and
Hmm.
then it's really hard to lose those games if you responsibly Necro.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Now, like in so with the way that like everything is currently, what in your mind is I guess like a responsible necro? Like, how many cards should we be seeing from a necro rip early?
It depends on like what you mull down to, right? But I would say probably 7 to 10 on each one, and if
Okay.
it doesn't get you there on turn 2, um, then it might not get you there on turn 3. Then you're starting to look for like alternative options, right?
Okay. Yep. No,
But
that makes a lot of sense.
Esper has a hard time converting a necropile into just like winning the game because you're not on breach,
Yeah.
and that's really what we're looking
Yeah.
for
That
in
is
decks
one.
like Blue Farm.
Yeah. That is one of the things that I've learned. Like, same thing. Like whenever we had Fizzle on the channel one time and talking to him, like just like breach itself fixes your mana problem, like the ability to just can repeatedly like have access to things like LED and being able to like then get through more cards in your deck. Like it fixes the mana problem, where I find that that's where I get caught the most, is like you can be staring at the win, you could have all the cards in the world, and you're really like a shot. And when Dockside was around, I agree, being able to clone the Dockside was so relevant. But now there are so many games where you're just standing there, like you're staring there, and you're like, I'm on top of the world, and literally one blue pip is what is standing between me and a win.
Yeah, I think in that case, that piece of feedback alone is probably going to make me say play Tataru Taru.
Okay.
Because if you're looking to make that mana, and I mean, if you look at like all these double pips we have, and just the incidental, like, oh, I need that one mana for a counter spell, or I need that one mana for Enlightened Tutor, or whatever it might be, that's this card plus Lotho and Tithe, obviously. Those are really good ways to take advantage of just making that extra mana.
Heck yeah. Okay, man. Awesome.
We're also an offer, and that kind of gives me a question mark, because I think with Necro, you run offer with things like Snapback to make that +2 mana, or +1 mana at instant speed. You convert 1 blue into 2 treasures. I think it's a decent. I would probably consider Snapback here.
Yeah, I think Jason actually commented on one of our videos, and like we had said something about that, and he basically like said, hey, the reason for Snapback is the potential to like you said like use the offer as almost like a ritual on your own to like net 2 mana. And I was like, oh. And so Chase was trying to drive me in the direction of like, rather than Snapback, I think he was trying to get me to play Submerge.
Oh, interesting. I suppose that works as well, but if you're not on Nas, then mana cost is inconsequential, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other cards that would be one line. So I did mention Heliod Ballista earlier. That could actually extend into like Agatha's Soul Cauldron as well, and I do like Soul Cauldron and Esper because we have Ranger Captain. And being able to exile Ranger Captain and use things like the Orc Army over and over again to just sack Ranger Captain is really, really strong.
Yeah. Dang, that's pretty good too. Heck yeah. See, there's all these like little things like that where you just don't know until you talk to somebody that does.
Do you have you been playing CDH for a while?
No. I actually I got my start in like tournament grinding like Yu-Gi-Oh when I was like really young. I was like 11 or 12. And so I didn't get into CDH until I started playing CDH I think back in last October, November-ish, I think.
Okay.
I think that's right. And then me and Chase met after I scrubbed out of a tournament, and then he did decent. I think he missed top cut, and then we went to go get we were with a couple other people that we knew, and we went to go get a pizza, and we just sat there talking, and he was like, I want to make a CDH podcast. And I was like, I've got filming equipment, and then that was how we ended up making videos.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've only been playing a little bit longer than you. I kind of started a little bit before last summer, and been playing pretty heavy since then, and
Nice.
got kind of thrown into the blender that is Denver, because we have so many freaking good players here. It's just like sink or swim. Like you either have it or you don't, and if you don't, then like fine, that's totally okay. But if you want to make it and you want to be successful, it's like you just have to learn. You just have to take in everything you can.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that makes sense. I think that that's one of the weird things. Kentucky doesn't have like a huge scene for this type of stuff. Nashville, I didn't know about the Nashville scene until honestly, like I guess like a little more recent. But we've been making a lot of really good friends down there, and like just making connections with people down there. And so that's been really, really fun just to get to interact with people there and like now I think we're going to try and get down there more and actually like, hopefully that'll obviously help us too as players.
Right.
But knowing that scene's there, that's like a huge plus.
Let's see. You were mentioning top, so let me grab that real quick. So what I wanted to do was take out those 2 lands, put in top, and then if you have some time, maybe we'll take about 10 minutes and just look at a couple opening hands, and I just want to see what you think about mulligans and I guess what your thought process is.
Okay.
Let's see. What are we taking out for top?
Would you?
Right now, top is feeling like the cut.
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. I was gonna say the only thing I can even look at and be like, huh, would be like maybe the key. But even then, I'm like,
Yeah, let's put top on sideboard for now. But I think we're in a good spot with those. That's like the 27.5 lands that I was talking about.
Yeah.
A little heavy on the enchantments, but that's kind of to be expected. We're in Esper and we're in Zur. All right. Talk me through this opening terrible hand. Why are we not keeping this?
We have access to 0 colored mana first of all, and then I mean technically Cavern on human, but I think we immediately ship this. Yeah.
All right. This is not exactly what we want to see, but it's not the worst hand, I would say. So what I like to do, and I think I did this in the Kefka video, was recommend just starting on a mull to 5. So like if this were a 5, would you keep it?
If this were a 5, I'd tend to mulligan a little bit aggressive. I'm not gonna lie. I probably would not keep this just because I'm trying to think of what you even go get off of.
What would your play pattern be? Like let's say I don't know, for some reason there's a gun to our head and we're being forced to keep this. What are we keeping?
What are we keeping? Oh man. I mean, Auto War, I guess, is like somewhat interactive, but that is very mana intensive right now. So I probably would send that.
This
back,
card is doo-doo garbage.
Yep.
And then this is like not.
Yeah.
This locks us into a color that we don't really want to do.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna. That was honestly what I was gonna suggest.
So my thought process here is we want Saga on 1. Okay. So we get the tutor from Saga as soon as possible. Mystical Tutor, we can't get anything that is worthwhile, that is like important aside from Twister. Maybe we can Mystical for a Demonic, but then that doesn't really mean anything. I'd rather just Mystical for a Twister and call it a day. So to me, this is, without looking at the top card of our library, we've got Urza Saga on 1. We've got a fetch land on 2. This ticks up. We've got Fellware Stone and then Mystical Tutor. So this vaguely represents a game plan.
Yeah.
That's a turn 3 Twister with mana explosivity from Saga, right? So we could have potentially 3 to 4 colorless. Yeah. That's a vague game plan to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I would, like I said, I would have definitely mulliganed this back, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So let's take a mulligan on that.
I see the plan.
So let's say we're on 5 here.
Yep.
What are we doing?
I mean, I'm not okay. What are we doing here? Force negation, fluster are not bad. We're on. What do we say?
We're still on 5. Yeah.
I mean, we do technically have a turn 1/1 ring. If we absolutely wanted to be greedy, or
do you think that's being greedy, or do you think that's being responsible?
I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I think that.
So if we hit the pitch 2 cards, what are we pitching here?
What are we pitching? Imsil feels really slow here. I feel like I don't know what I would go grab, but then also because it's I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I would probably keep the fluster. I would probably send back the force just because it requires me to go down another card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm probably sending the force back and then keeping the turn one ring plus a potential like fluster storm to stop like an early win attempt on a later turn. And then I'm
That's
gonna get to see more cards with the one ring.
that's an interesting take. So what I would consider is if you fetch black off of this, say you fetch scrubland because we need a black. Well, we don't need a black anyway. We have pedal, right? But if you fetch black here, you can imp seal then draw it with one ring.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then obviously, I think force of negation is the obvious pitch here. So that's. But if you're for some reason scared of an instant or sorcery someone's going to cast early on turn 2, you can keep fluster. But ultimately, I think you just lose the game if you do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If we send these to bottom, so like we fetch scrubland here.
Would we want to get something that potentially makes blue, or do we want the black? No, we want the black, right? Because we want the imp seal.
Yeah, because we can tutor
we just covered that.
We can. There's no reason for us to draw at the moment, so we pass.
Yes.
Go to end step, take a draw. That sucks. We go to next. We didn't even draw for turn, so that's our draw for turn. That we'll draw 1 for 1 ring. Okay, that's even worse. And then we'll go turn 2. Wow, that's horrific, right? But yeah, like this is bad. Okay, so you're like, well, here's an imp seal. What do you tutor for? I don't know. Given these cards, I don't know. But this was a solid plan. And sometimes it doesn't work out in your favor, right? But,
Yeah.
and then you have to sit like, okay, so that's only turn 2 though, right? This is bad, but like we have a counter spell.
Yes, you're right.
Right. So what do we tutor here for? I think we tutor for land. I think we'll just do Underground Sea.
Okay.
And we'll tap, draw that, draw another card. Okay, that's not the worst thing. So now on turn 2, this is what our hand looks like.
Okay.
And we could also just tutor, like knowing we have silence, we could do Tundra. So
yeah,
I think that's probably a bit more responsible.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
When you're looking at hands, yeah, when you're looking at hands and like evaluating things, you're just trying to optimize a bad situation most of the time.
Okay.
Especially with these like draw engine decks, if you have a turn 1 wondering and it's just in front of your face, it's like whatever. Like we'll figure it out, right? And like if there's a tutor presented to you, keep the tutor, because the prospect of being responsible with that flusterstorm is just, if you lose that game, oh well, it wasn't your game to win. But I think you're much more likely to win the game if you keep the tutor, right? So this is
that's
draw.
actually
Go ahead.
So that is actually fascinating because like I find that I do get a little I almost like gun shy is the way, like the word I used to chase. Like I get so afraid of potentially like sometimes I will forego advancing my board state to almost like just kind of accelerate at the same pace as someone else. Like let's say they're just drawing for turn and I'm like opting to not feed them cards off like heuristics and things like that. Like I'm gonna draw a card, they're gonna draw a card, and if everybody else is being kind of responsible at the table, you're kind of all, I guess, like moving at the same pace. There will be times where like I will forego trying to accelerate my board in an attempt to like not feed a player like that. Is that just like, do you need to be proactive and I guess like focused on like especially like in instances like this, like should I just quit being so scared of that and like just try to establish my board state and like get my game plan online?
I hate giving answers like this, but short answer is it depends.
Okay, yeah.
The heuristic of, well, I just need to pay for heuristic and then like everything will be fine. I've gotten so comfortable with never paying for Ristic Study and winning a lot of games because of it. Because yeah, you might draw them a bunch of cards and they might just rip a win, but other people are going to go, hey, that guy's drawing a lot of cards. We should probably try to find some sort of interaction for what they're about to do. Meanwhile, you're just like playing
Yeah.
mana rock, mana rock, mana rock, and like, yeah, it's advancing your game state and it's advancing theirs too, but they're drawing cards when it's not your turn. They'll untap with a bunch. I'm going to get blasted in the YouTube comments for this, but I have a decent tournament success rate, and I almost never pay for Ristic Study. And
That's fair.
if I have a Ristic Study, I'm certainly not paying for your Ristic Study because I want you to cast more spells, so I draw more cards. My deck is built better than yours,
That's
right?
yeah.
My
That's
card quality
really
is
good.
higher.
That's fair. So I want to give that. Nah, obviously I'm just being like facetious, but like I want to give you cards because we're gonna have two Ristic studies. Like feed me.
Exactly. And then what are we worried about the other two players that don't have anything? No. Like I need to worry about you now. The prospect of shutting someone off or shutting someone down is like, well, I took your card draw engine away. You don't have anything. It's just unrealistic, right? So I think the real way to shut someone down is just to not pay for somebody else's Ristic Study, and then they feel like, well, I need to pay, or they feel some sort of obligation to pay because that's what they were taught, or that's what they feel provides them success. When in reality, I don't think that's true. You have to play your own game, and if you lose because of it, okay, you lose that game, but there's like another game of Swiss, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's a really good point. Okay.
so this is our turn 3. We're untapping with this.
Hmm.
And we just drew Felwar Stone for turn. And while I made a big deal about like, oh shit, these cards are really bad to draw on turn 2, we're remember our turn 2 was we have Silence up and we have Force of Will up.
Yeah.
That's not a really bad spot to be. It's really hard to lose with those options. And if someone goes for an early breach line, you're like, hey, here's a silence. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
damn, that sucks. uh, so like while I said, oh, that's in a really bad spot to be in, we're actually not in that bad of a spot. So we drew a rock for turn. That's fine. This is definitely where we take another draw. We'll just draw 3. Oh, look, it's a turn 3 Ristic Study. And like this is what pays off into like this is how you win games.
Yeah.
Because now you go, I have a Ristic Study. And if someone goes, well, I'm going to counter it, and we're like, no, I'm going to defend it, and we're going to lose the game because I'm blowing a counter spell.
Mm. Mm.
And they go, well, show me the counter spell. You show them Force of Will. And you're like,
Oh,
do you
that's
want to lose to the player across from us, or do you want me to just sit here and draw cards? And then that's like
yeah.
a rock and a hard place situation, right? But
Yeah. No, that
losing the
makes a
game
lot
is
of
not what
sense.
people want to do. I'm like, dude, I'm tapped out. I'm in Esper. I'm drawing cards. Like, what do you want from me? This is what the color shell does. Like, this is, if you look at my commander, it's Zur. I'm going to get a Ristic Study. Like, can I just have this one, or do you want me to like wait a turn and find
Yeah.
another one?
That's such a good point because there have been times where like especially with steel enchantment being more prevalent, it's like I can either have this Ristic Study or I can have your Ristic Study.
Yeah, you can totally run steel too. I saw you running it in your list, and I didn't quite make a spot for it in mine, but
No. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
It's
that
all good.
reframing these sort of things and kind of just going like, here's my plan. I need to get out some sort of value or establish an
Mhm.
early presence. If I'm unable to do that, then like I must do that by any means necessary.
Mhm.
We have so many tools to do that. This is not presenting us with a tool to do that. So we would ship that.
Heck yeah, dude.
Like, this is questionable.
Mhm.
At worst, it okay, so let's go again. What we're keeping 5. What are we keeping?
Oof. Okay. We're keeping 5, huh? Well, Pack's dead here. I mean, I'm not. If we cast it, we're dead. So
No
let's
question.
get rid of that.
Yep.
Um, I think we just get rid of the key? I mean, it doesn't really have a purpose right now.
Do you think
Or
Delny
do
has
we?
a purpose
Well,
in
I mean,
this hand?
that's what I was actually going to say. Like, at least the key is a play. Delaney's kind of dead. Yeah.
Consider what we might draw for
Yeah.
turn as well. Um,
Yeah.
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 So
I think that,
let's.
yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So we keep this. Oh, look, it's a land.
There we go.
Cool.
Play the key.
Next turn.
They're never punished.
I
Never
mean,
punished.
yeah, if you just put good cards in your deck, you're pretty much gonna draw good cards. I think we
That's
end.
fair.
I think we end step Tainted Pact.
You think
Honestly,
so?
yeah, because
To go get.
then it's like that doesn't help. None of these cards matter. That also doesn't help. That's fine. So we've exiled a couple counter spells, a couple lands, right? We get this. Cool.
Yeah.
Next turn, we could have probably kept something more aggressive, but now we have Necro
Okay.
on turn 3.
Hmm.
And so we do Necro for, we won't see any of these, but I don't know, 7. Go to end step.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. This is pretty good. We need to keep 1 land. Misstep is fine. Signet doesn't matter. Out of time, Archivist, Snapback. Probably pitch it out of time. Unless the board requires it, but
Requires it. Yeah.
yeah, but then
That makes
then we
sense.
don't draw. We play here, Tithe. Like, you see how this is evolving into a plan.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all you need for tournament play. You just need your turns 1, 2, and 3 to evolve into some sort of plan if you're playing mid range. It can't just be, well, I have to go for like that early Necro, or I have to go for like. It doesn't matter. You just have to piece something together. And if your plan's not that great, that's okay. But a plan is better than no plan.
Yes. No, that makes sense. I definitely get what you're saying. That definitely makes more sense.
Yeah, I would look at certain cards like Archivist and Lotho and things like that as ways to improve your mulligans, and even Scheming Symmetry is a really good card to say, like, it's not my favorite card, but tutoring to the top of my library at turn 1 or turn 2 is pretty solid, even if it comes at a cost. And it's unlikely that you'll lose the game because of it. I think you're a good enough player where that's not going to turn into a loss for you if you have to use it that way.
This has been fun. I'm not gonna lie. This is cool. Just to like also just like see the line of thinking, like tracking everything. It's been really fun.
What I was gonna say was, all right, I know we focused a lot on the list that I just built kind of in front of you, and it took a little bit of time to do that, and I was walking through that a bunch, but I do want to return back to the original list you sent me and just very quickly review some of the things we talked about, because I think it's good to recap and see where we're at and see what your kind of thought process is, and like, you could talk to 10 different coaches. We'd all have different coaching styles and different things to say about either this deck or CDH or whatever. But I mean, you reached out to me for this session at least. So I think you've heard a lot of what I've had to say. I kind of want to hear your feedback and some of the things that you think now that we've had a conversation about it.
Yeah. No, I think that one of the things I like about what we just did was it I don't know. It really gets me questioning like some of the includes that I've been kind of like fixated on. Like I said, like ad nause on life, like some of these things that for some reason you're sitting there telling yourself like, oh yeah, like this is a win, this is a win in hand. But like a lot of times you still have to piece together the win. There's opportunities for like things to get choked up. So like I like that the deck. Like it feels like even though we're doing control, it feels like we're being proactive. Like we're still focused on like advancing our game, and we even were able to like cut some cards that just kind of like feel bad. Like honestly, that was really fun. And then also just like having a little bit more, I guess, like of a toolboxy option with Zur rather than like potentially getting like fixated and just stuck into like one game plan, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm trying to think of like how to say like I think that I can sometimes get I don't know how I'm trying to say like I can sometimes get too afraid of like or like I'm afraid of like I guess like maybe it's just like looking like a bad player. I mean, like when you open yourself up to like playing online and like doing stuff like that, like you get afraid of like making questionable inclusions to decks and like being willing to like test things and do stuff. And like I've gotten very fixated on like or I've gotten very stuck in my ways of like how my list is. And I feel like this is one of the first times that I've actually felt good about like just saying, whatever, we're just gonna throw stuff at the wall and like see what sticks. And like I'm willing to like actually rip the deck apart and say, okay, what are we going to do to make this deck feel good, feel different, like make some different inclusions? Like I don't know, it kind of took away a little bit of that feeling of being like, oh, I don't know, like I don't want to be a bad player. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying.
It does. I think that Commander is a very interesting format because in other formats you don't see people as attached to their decks as you do with Commander, right? Because your Commander is the deck identity. You're like, I really connect with either the way this commander looks or just the way that the deck presents itself or the strategy or just whatever it is about it. I think a really good example of this is Wayne or Boris Wayne. They play Zerta, and that's all they play. That's it. And just Commander is just really unique in that aspect. So I think when you take a well-known commander like Zur and then you feel obligated to run what others have had success with versus, I mean, like I don't see a lot of Zur players right now, so it's kind of hard to say what is successful, what's not. I have a couple local that are pretty solid, but they're not like topping tournaments regularly and stuff like that. But I enjoy the games with them. They play solidly. But yeah, I can see where you're like, I feel attached to this line because this line has been in Zur forever. This player who I know is really good says play it, but there's no context of their meta or their play style or how they mulligan or there's just so many factors, right? But yeah, I think getting reassurance from somebody else and saying like, hey, you're not really off track here, but there's maybe a different angle you can come attacking this from. I think that's probably worthwhile. I think that's what coaching does for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree with that. I think that it's nice too just to have somebody else's perspective to like, I don't know, like you get that little bit of reassurance that like some of the stuff that you're doing is good, but also like here's like you get to see the good and the bad, if that makes sense. Like sometimes when I'm looking at a list, like if I just did bad at a tournament, I can sometimes like everything feels bad, or if you just did really good at a tournament, everything feels good, and you're not able to like look at things objectively. And I think that that's one thing that I feel like coaching and like having other people like outsiders to look at a deck, it's nice to you get a more like objective point of view of a deck, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Adnons is probably the easy one to point out, right? Because it's like, well, I'm running Adnons because it combos well, and we have things like Angel's Grace and Phyrexian Unlife to take advantage of it. But then we start talking about it, and you're like, well, it really kind of hasn't actually felt that great, but like, yeah, the combo's there. right? And like, well, that's not what I want to
Yeah.
hear. I want to hear that, like, dude, my deck feels so awesome because like, not
Yeah.
only am I, you know, do I get to attack things from like this angle, but I also have like consistency. I can play the game, like,
Mhm.
because that's kind of the whole point is you want to be able to play the game, right? And
Yes.
I would also caution you that you'll see a lot of builds out there that are I I try to attack things from a tournament grinder level, and whether everyone agrees with that or not, sure, that's fine. But I value consistency very, very highly in the lists that I build. So I look at
Mhm.
cards, and I the first thing I think to myself is, how consistent is it in this archetype? And if it even just feels slightly inconsistent, I kind of start looking for other things to go, how can I up my consistency? Because
Mhm.
if you look at me playing a game and you could be like, a spectator or whatever, I almost always have something going on, whether it's inherently winning
Mhm.
me the game or not. Like I'm making moves, I'm making game actions, I'm trying to participate, or I'm at least talking and kind of working with the table on the problems and stuff like that. I like decks that have those answers and the flexibility and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would just, that's kind of my style. And while it's kind of
Yeah.
generic and boring to some people, I don't know, it wins me a lot of games.
Yeah. No, heck yeah, dude. I think it makes sense. Like I said, I just like I said, I like the deck. Like I like Zur specifically. I
Hmm.
have like I don't know, just I guess like this tie to Zur. So I definitely am. I'm committed to like wanting the deck to do well, and so I'm always willing to like pick the brains of people that I feel like are reputable and like competent in the space. And I think that one of the best ways to get good in this space is just like get more reps in. So yeah, I definitely think that taking that approach, like, hey, I grind tournaments a lot, I'm very proactive, like I'm in the community a lot, like
Hmm.
I think that that's probably the best way to go about it. Like when you look at the players that are the best, it's typically the people that are playing a lot, like Tim and like Ian and a lot of these guys that are like, Freedom Waffle and like Wounded Sad, like a lot of these guys that are like playing all the time. Like it makes sense that you would take that approach because that feels like that's how you would get the best at the game.
Yeah, for sure. But if you named five or six people there, and I know all those guys, I'm friends with most of, if not all of them, and we all have incredibly
Mhm.
different styles. If you asked Tim to make you a Zur list, good God, that list would be so weird, but it would work, like, I don't know that it'd be like the most consistent thing ever, but it'd be a Tim list. You could present that list to me. I'd look at it and I go, did Tim build this? Like, you know, it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the cool part about CDH and Commander in general is there's so many different ways and different cards to attack this and build it. The one thing I've been forgetting to mention to you this entire time. My
Mhm.
experience with Zur, I actually have a decent amount of experience with it, and that's because my wife
Mhm.
has played Zur quite a bit, and she
Okay.
really enjoyed the deck for a while, and has since moved on to Blue Farm, and is currently now retired because
Okay.
we're expecting a kid, so she's taking a break from CDH,
Yeah.
but she's like literally sitting here right next to me, and she's like passing me a notebook, and she's like, "Oh, is he running this combo?" Or it's very funny.
Heck yeah.
So,
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. Which congrats, by the way.
oh, thanks.
I think I had told y'all that before. And I think she even commented on one of our videos, which was really, but yeah, congrats again. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
Y'all are expecting, is it end of August?
yeah, end of August. So coming up on it.
Nice. Congrats, man. Yeah, we got a little one on coming on mid September,
Oh
so we're excited
wow!
too. It's our
Congrats to
first
you
one.
as well. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you,
Is
brother.
that your first?
Appreciate it. Yes, this will be our first.
Yeah, it's our first too. So I'm sure that'll be
Heck yeah.
all fun.
Yeah.
The reason that she got really into Zur was for Christmas one year I bought her the Post Malone Secret Lair, as you can see here,
Nice.
and she's a
Yes.
really big Post Malone fan. So that's how she got kind of into playing Zur, and then we just played CDH, and she's like, "Well, this seems kind of nice. I found a list online," and then we worked on it together, and working on this with you just kind of brought all that back, and especially it's kind of like cool to see these new cards like Tataru Taru and um,
Yeah.
I don't
Heck
remember
yeah.
if Delaney was around back then, but yeah. So
No, dude, one of the way that I got onto the deck, I like I said, I used to grind like Yu-Gi-Oh a lot, and so like the way that which I think if you actually look at my handle, it says like horns, but the way that I came up with that, like I used to do videos about like an archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh called Light Sworns, and the whole strategy was like just milling yourself and eventually like finding combos in the deck.
mhm.
And so when I originally got into just Commander in general, like my buddies had built me a Demir like self mill deck, and I was like, this is kind of boring. Like, how do you find the combos? Like, you just kind of have to like draw cards and like hope you see like the right things. Like this kind of stinks. And then I found Zur, and I was like, I can just take anything I want out of my deck. Like, why would I not do that? So then I built it as like a self mill deck, and eventually, like, you find out like, oh, CDH is a thing, and then you slowly like scales up. But after that, dude, I was like so hooked. I was like, okay, this deck is like so fun. I've built it like so many different ways. So like, I feel like CDH was like the capstone of like I'd played it as like a self mill, like Pillow Fort, Voltron, all these things, and then it was just like, okay, now we're gonna play it as CDH, and so that's been like my whole mission. I want to do well with the deck so that
Mhm.
it starts having like some, like obviously like popping up in events now and then, and people go, man, like Zer's doing pretty good, and then I keep telling all the guys in like the Zer Discord, we gotta get this place popping again, dude. We have too many people in. Going, let's get this conversation going.
Yeah, these are the differences between my wife's list. She's literally messaged me on Discord and we're sitting next to each other. But this is what she runs up here.
Dude,
She hasn't run this in like
lava.
months. It's been months. It's been like what, December? She says it was last updated 4 months ago, and the only change she
Dude,
made
Lava
was
Spur Boots
voice
is
of victory.
nice.
Yeah, it's
Lava Spur
running.
Boots is solid. Like I don't run the hasty stuff.
Yeah, that's. She's very on the Zer
Yeah,
plan. So you see
that's
Fierce and Lava Spur and Lightning Greaves. It's kind of gross, but anyway.
that's so good.
I
So
guess I want to make sure
heck
that
yeah.
we covered everything that you wanted to cover because I know it's been like a longer session, but I did take a huge chunk out of that just to kind of randomly build a deck. So I want to make sure that you got everything that you feel like you needed to ask, and I covered all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, man. No, I think that was the biggest thing. Like, I just wanted to look at the deck from like a different perspective. So it was cool to like see your perspective and like see you go into the deck, build a plan, and then same thing. Like, that was one of the big questions that I wanted answered was, would it make sense to fall more into like the Esper control plan or potentially look at a blue farm list and almost be like an Esper, I guess, like mimic of it? And I think that got answered. And then we even went through some mulligans and stuff like that, and like just we got into the topics that I wanted to discuss. So I think that this was like, and I really appreciate you.
Of
I know
course.
it's late, but just like taking the time to go over everything with me.
No, when you messaged me, I was like, oh hell yeah! Like I really want to make this work, and that was awesome. I'm glad. I hope you got what you needed to out of it, and obviously we'll post a recording and all that so you can have it.